from the depths of Chicago, live and direct, it's the Rico No Suave Show, starring Rico No Suave, with co-host Valerie Malesio, featuring special guests every Saturday. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here is Rico No Suave. Ritmo.
That was a lot of energy there, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Your boy Rico No Suave here on a 1-2-1-2, ready to go with each and every one of you guys. Yes, we are back. Woo-wee. Man, it's 22 de enero, mi gente, and I'm so happy to be back with each and every one of you guys again for another great episode, yes, of the Rico No Suave Show. Yes, man, the 22nd. So I'm so happy to actually be here. And hopefully, everyone, you had a great week. También. So make sure you stay tuned with us, everybody. Don't forget to share this video because we're about to rock it out today. And you know who else I'm rocking it out with? With my co-host, Valerie Malesio. What's up, Valerie?
Hey, feliz sábado, mi gente. It is a beautiful day outside.
It is.
You know what? It is really like refreshing out there.
Is it?
It's not super cold. It's not. You can deal with it.
You can deal with it. I like that.
You know, it's not 80 degrees. You know, to put the barbecues away. But hey, barbecue in the cold. Why not? Why not?
I really like that. I really like that. I think that's really good. So
22nd though. Woo.
Man, the 22nd, man.
Already.
That's beautiful, man.
How's everybody doing with the resolutions out there?
We did put that out there too. We did put that out there. Yeah.
Let
if
us
you
know.
haven't seen it, make sure you check on the page.
Social media, which leads us to.
Let's go into our social media, everybody, like she said. All right, everybody. So here's our social media that you should be always with us on. www.riconosuaveshow.com is where you find all of our information, all of our great footage, and also our past archives, as well as we got DJs on there, everybody. So if you like house music and all that great stuff, that's where you'll find more about us. Here's the next one. Boom, at Rico No Suave Show. You know that's our official account on Instagram, right? So make sure you go on Instagram for that, everybody. So make sure you please follow us. Do it now. Just go ahead and do it now. All right, here's the next one.
Right now.
And the next one is, boom, at Rico No Suave Show on Facebook. Welcome back, like always. Facebook is where we're at, everybody. So make sure you continue to like.
Love.
All day, just what she said. All right, here's the next one. We are on, I'm about to say Facebook Live. We are on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube Live, everybody. YouTube Live. You can see exactly how excited we are. Yes, Rico No Suave Show on our YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, everyone. That's where we're at.
We're legit. We on YouTube.
Too legit to quit,
That's
Valerie.
right.
Too legit to quit. All right, here's the next one. The last one is... boom, mixcloud.com/Rico No Suave Show. You know, mixcloud.com is a free account that you can actually go ahead and sign up with us on. So make sure you go ahead and just subscribe to that channel. They have a lot of great, DJs, a lot of good podcasts out there, and we're part of that community. So make sure you go ahead and go to mixcloud.com/Rico No Suave
Get your
Show.
account so you can be part of our specials. We like to do our music specials on Mixcloud.
Yeah, we do that once in a while, don't we?
Yeah.
Yep. So we got to make sure that we go ahead and do that as well. All right. So we got our breaking news, everybody. Of course, with me and my co-host Valerie Malesio. We got something, I think this is some good news. So everybody that's actually on the radio piece, thank you so much for joining us. All right, here's our breaking news. So England, and I have to give a big shout out to my people in England. And, we talk about COVID and a lot of things that we've been going on. And I just want to just briefly talk about this because the government is no longer asking for people to work from home. Masks are no longer compulsory in secondary school classrooms. So, the 27th, which is recent, right? It's coming up, I should say. They're going to actually say
So
no more passes
their
to
COVID
restaurants.
passes, is that like equivalent to our vaccine card?
Yeah, correct.
Is that what that
Yes,
is?
yes. I mean, so COVID passes, the cards and everything. So they're basically uplifting their restrictions. Now, I want to congratulate them for taking that step because evidently the vaccine is working where their numbers are actually going down. Now,
do you want to congratulate them though?
I do.
Okay.
You know why I want to? Because it's kind of like an optimistic thing, right? And
Oh,
when
so
I
you're
say
just wishful hopeful.
I'm hopeful,
Okay.
right? And that's the reason why I say that, right?
Well, I just hope it doesn't have the, the reverse effect and like make it all that we have to do this all over again.
And see, that's the thing. I think,
not to.
and that's where it comes from, right? And I'm glad you said that because it's like the flu season, right? It's like it's going to be seasonal. I don't think this is going to really go away.
Right.
I think this is going to be a seasonal thing for us to be able to have this vaccine, or we're going to be wearing masks forever, and I just can't get my pig nose on, right? I can't do that, right? I can't do that, right? I mean, I'm getting tired of it, right? I'm getting tired of the mask.
See, here I am. I don't really mind the masks so much. I mean, it's okay to keep.
I like to walk down the
keep
street.
your breath to yourself. I'm good with that.
Yeah, see,
but
and that's another problem too, keeping your breath to yourself because you inhaling what you just ate, right? I mean, so the thing about it is that we got to be careful about that. And one of the things about nature is that we breathe in, we breathe out, right? And the bacteria that we actually have. And there's a lot of things that's been going on with that, but I'm not going to go too deep into it.
Yeah, we can dive into that rabbit hole, but I agree. At least it is hopeful because if they're getting to a point where they can change their restrictions,
yes,
then hopefully we can follow suit and get to that point as well.
We need to.
Hopefully, it is within the it's reasonable that they can do that.
Yeah,
we don't definitely want to dive in too quickly
like
and
we
have
did last
to
time.
hit the reset button and do this whole thing all over again.
I pray that we don't
I'm
have
over
to do
it.
that.
Like
yeah,
I'm just so
done
tired
with the
of
mask. Me too. All right, let's go to this next one. So this next slide here talks about Mr. Biden, right? And it says Biden coronavirus advisors wear a mask, but not forever, but for now, right? And I like that, right? Goes to our next slide here. So on our next slide, we actually have, Texas and Mississippi both lifted their mask mandates and the capacity restrictions on businesses on Tuesday through health experts warn newer, more contagious variants of the coronavirus could cause spikes in infections even as vaccination increases. Let's go to that next one. So with that being said, Texas and Mississippi has always been that state that's been like, hey, we really don't care what's going on in the world. We're going to do our own thing.
You remember when we went to Texas?
Yeah. And
nobody had masks on.
Nobody had
cared.
masks on.
As a matter of fact, they looked at me kind of cross-eyed when I put a mask on to go in the store. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Did that bother you? Because I'm fine.
Yeah. So kind of, what we see as, the senior advisor for the White House, his response encouraged Americans to, keep wearing a mask for preventive measures on Friday as some states lift their mandates declining. The numbers are declining, right? The Center of Disease and public officials locally at the state level, nationally, are all clear. Wear a mask, but not forever. Just for now. And I do see the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, I see that.
Absolutely.
We've been doing this for 2 years now,
Yeah.
going on 2 years, maybe, going a little bit more than 2 years. And, I think, the Americans and people around the world are tired of the mask, number one.
Right.
And people are still getting sick, even with the vaccination, but, not as sick as far as the people that I've seen, right, or have heard. But it's gonna happen where we have to continue to live, right? To be like, man, I'm scared to go outside. And that's the fear in some people.
You know what? I mean, it was in the beginning. There was super scary.
Sure.
It's still scary now, but as we trudge along, we get conditioned to the new norms, right? So we understand what the new normal is.
Yeah.
But it was very, very scary because we didn't know what we were looking at. How severe is this? So I think it's in terms of, fatalities and deaths is kind of what they're looking at.
Yeah. And hospitalization.
And hospitalization, so again, like I said, do I like the masks? No. I'm okay with it though. Like it's not going to break my arm or hurt me if I have to put a mask on to go into a store. Now, with the restaurant situations, it's a little bit tricky because, you're wearing it for like 2 seconds until you sit down. So it gets confusing. Like, okay, what are the rules here? You know what I mean? So that gets a little bit on the gray area. But as a whole, everybody's just kind of just tired of the stress related with this whole thing.
So let's go to the next screen then. So check this out. So, President Biden earlier this week was sharply critical on the decision in Mississippi and Texas. And I hope everybody realized that for now, these masks makes a difference. Biden told reporters of the Oval Office on Wednesday, we are on a cusp of being able to fundamentally change the nature of this disease because of the way we're able to get vaccines in people's arms. I really don't like that phrase. I hate that. The last thing we need is Neanderthal thinking, right? That in the meantime, everything is fine. Take off your mask, forget it. He added, it still matters. Yet, and it goes by what you're saying, right? And you're right. You really went right into this next slide because it's like, yeah, I'll deal with it for the time being,
right?
But at the same time, too, it's like, hey. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the mask. It won't break my arm, but yeah, it kind of like...
It's annoying. It could be annoying, yeah.
Right? But
especially for makeup and all that stuff. But, if that's what we have to do, then that's what we got to do.
And so think about this, too. There's a mentality issue where depression comes into play of being able to say, I'm fearful by going outside to catch COVID-19, right? And then, you got people that's 6 feet apart, and then you got people that's not 6 feet apart. Like myself, I'm a social butterfly, so I'm walking past people like you wouldn't think of, but then I got my mask on, and I'm still saying hello and things like that. And, it's kind of like humans at first began like stepping away from each other as if they had a disease already. Right. And now it's like, I'm tired of this, man. I'm ready to actually say hello to people. I'm ready to actually get my mentality where I don't feel like I'm suicidal. A lot of people feel suicidal.
Mental illness and mental health, I should say.
And this is a big one.
Is a big one because it is depressing.
Yes, it is. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we have to be careful about because we have mask on and we really can't see the smiles. We can't see when the sunshine comes out. A lot of people get depressed when someone is always mad, right? And at the same time, too, it's like, man, when is this really going to be over, right? When are we going to get done with this? And also, if someone does have COVID, the first thing is that, oh, man, I hope this person don't die. I hate to hear that. But that's where the mentality is. That's what you think, though. That's what you think.
I hope it's not fatal.
Exactly.
I hope they get through this.
Exactly.
Whereas, you don't have that same concern when someone gets the flu. Like,
Bingo.
you don't think that way.
That's right.
That's why it's a kind of, challenging. It's just another flu. Not really. We're not there yet. We're trying to make it like another flu.
Yeah.
Because when flu first came out, it was very deadly too.
Yep.
But now it's manageable.
Yep.
We just want to get to a place where this is manageable.
Yeah.
So...
Yes.
You don't think right away if someone catches a cold or a flu or like, wow, they're going to, pass away.
Yeah.
Where that is a actually reality and genuine thought that crosses your mind when you hear those words.
Which
COVID.
causes depression.
Which can cause fear,
anxiety,
depression,
yes.
all of those emotions.
Yes.
So, yes, and that's a whole topic. We could have like a whole 6 shows,
right?
On that topic. So thanks for everybody listening.
Yes.
Love the comments.
I think that was the last slide,
in.
right? I think that was the last slide. Yeah. Okay. All right, everybody. That was our breaking news, everyone. So, yes, of course, we're going to continue to, keep our heads up, and we're going to continue to actually move forward and make sure that, we stay safe out there. Now I have to introduce this beautiful young lady that's here in the loft with us. I think one of the things is about this young lady is I really love flamenco. Right? I'm a flamenco activist, right? I love flamenco, and I love it that she studied in Madrid in España. And one of the things is that understanding as far as building her company, but also being a curator in regards to performing arts, as well as her company. I'm not going to say it because I want her to talk about it because we got some things. I know, because we're going to actually let her talk about it. So I want everybody stand up, click your shoes on the floor like you're dancing flamenco because my girl is in the house. Put your hands together for none other than my girl, Justine Bayod Espoz. Darling, here we go.
Clap for myself.
How are you, Justine? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Welcome to the show.
Good, thank you. I'm happy to be here. This is great.
Yes, we're happy to actually have you here, and we're gonna dive right deep into it because there's some good topics that we're gonna talk about today. So, any shout outs you want to give out to anybody before we get started?
Oh my goodness. No, just anybody listening. Thank you for coming to listen.
Yes.
I love to talk, and I know you guys love to talk, and we
Yes.
can have a really awesome conversation.
Yes.
And anybody that wants to listen to that, well, thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
Let's get it on.
Thank you for joining the Rico No Suave Show.
Right. So the first question is, how? Let's talk about Torito Arts NFP.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about it and how you, because you're the founder of it, right?
Yes.
So tell us about that company and what its mission is.
So Torito Arts NFP is a nonprofit. That's what non-for-profit NFP.
Yep.
And it's an arts-based nonprofit. And really what we're working on is finding ways to improve equity, diversity, and inclusion in the performing arts.
Okay.
So I have dedicated most of my life to working with music, dance, theater.
Oh, we love that.
Yes, yeah. The performing arts is a wonderful, wonderful world that is struggling with COVID right now.
Yes,
It
yes.
was hit very, very hard by this.
Absolutely.
So many industries were, but I mean, really, any kind of performance came to a screeching halt. Artists have been very adversely affected by this, and we're always the first industry to get, budgets cut and harmed when anything goes wrong in society as a whole, and we're always the last ones to come back. So, yeah, that's just a little shout out to arts industry.
Yes, yes, of course.
But yeah, Torito Arts. I started Torito Arts because, in addition to what I do with the nonprofit, I work as a booking agent and an artist manager, predominantly for artists coming from outside of the United States to tour the U.S. and Canada. So I work with international artists.
Amazing.
Which in and of itself is very, very difficult. A lot of people don't know that the U.S. has some of the worst laws for allowing outside artists, international artists, into the country. We have an extremely expensive visa process. We have, really costly taxes on artists that come here just to do small tours. And so it's very costly and very difficult to get artists to come here, and that's really not the case in a lot of other countries in the world. And what we're missing out in that is we're missing out that cultural exchange with so many different countries who, I always feel like the U.S. has been quite isolationist throughout its history, and this is, no exception. This is kind of that proof that, in the U.S. we always tend to say, oh, we're the best, there's nothing better here, but there are wonderful things all over the world, and the arts are one of the best ways to show that.
See,
She just hit that like, oh my God.
It's a trigger,
Right.
It's a trigger that
just
you just
saying
talked about.
how we isolate ourselves, because it's
Yes.
so true. And up until recent years, those few that were privy to understanding that panoramic view and knowledge, like a lot of us didn't really see that until like the social medias opened up that avenue for more information to come through, that wow, we aren't that welcoming, come give me a hug country that we try to portray ourselves to be. And that's a real big eye-opener. I'm gonna hand it back to you because I know you want to dive into it.
No, I mean, I'm with you on that. The vibe is here,
Yeah.
right? So one of the things is that, we talk about complications when it comes to traveling, when it comes to, international things that actually happens between U.S. as well as different other countries. But we also talk about when it comes to different artists or teachers, education, even talk about religion in some cases, right? Even activists.
Right.
And we talk about certain things where, why is America supposed to be the land of the free, but it's not really free, because we talk about immigration.
Nothing
right?
is free.
Right, nothing is free.
Nothing is
right?
free.
So, but we talk about that when
And
it
we're
comes
not
to
that
immigration.
welcoming.
Right, and that's the hard part.
Right.
The hard part about what you're saying is us as Latinos and minorities live off of music. Period.
We really
Hands
do.
down.
Yeah.
That's how we continue to build things continuously, right? But when we actually start having banning and you can't come over here because of teaching or education, that becomes a problem for a lot of tourists like yourself. Like, I'm sorry, not tourists, but
Tour managers,
booking
agents,
like
yeah.
yourself, booking agents like yourself. But also, it's hard for other cultures to see how America does things here.
Right.
People see it from maybe TV wise or internet wise, right?
Well,
But
it's also
living
the
that dream.
arts. Other countries, as she mentioned, don't view the arts as a novelty like the
Right.
way we do. We don't
Yes.
think it's something we really need.
That's correct.
Oh, that's extra. So the first cuts and budget cuts always go towards
Yeah,
the
the
arts.
arts.
Yes.
Oh, that's just a novelty thing. We really don't need that.
It's like it's extra.
It's like change. You got to
Yeah.
change that mindset.
So like a really beautiful thing about artists and the arts is that they bring new ideas and or new ways of addressing an old idea, right? And we always talk in art about universal themes, right? We're all human. We may come from very, very different backgrounds,
Yeah.
but we do face a lot of the same trials and tribulations regardless of where in the world we grew up, sometimes regardless of gender or sexuality. We hurt, and we, in a lot of the same ways, we need all of the same things.
Yes.
Challenges are the same. Yeah.
Right. So there is that universality in art, but each artist can approach these things that we can all relate to in a different way, from a different place, with a different genre of art. And we need to value this because it really does teach us that we are, despite our differences, and we have many differences, but we are all the same, and we do all need the same things. And the arts are really the food for the soul. You know, we have food that nourishes our body, but we also need the arts to nourish our mind and our soul.
But it also educates, though.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
does also educate.
And that's what
Yes,
I think
yes.
that's the main thing that I'm trying to say is that you learn about other cultures through the arts in a very palatable way, right?
Yes.
It's nice to see somebody else's music. And there are times when you're like, "Oh, I don't really get this. It's not my thing." But you at least know it exists.
Yes.
And you learn about it as a
Yes.
different form of expression from your own, and you can like it more or less. And you mentioned flamenco earlier, and there are
Yes.
people who, you know, in the Western world, it's flamenco has a lot of Eastern qualities to especially to the music, and Eastern music is very different from Western music. And there are people in the West who just don't get it. It's not a pleasant sound to them. And then there are people in the West who are like, "What is this? This is amazing.
It
It's
is
so
amazing,
different."
too. It's so captivating. And like you're almost hypnotized when you watch the flamenco dancers and you hear the music, and you're just like, wow, you know.
And flamenco, I think, is also like one of the really good examples of what we're talking about that cross-cultural communication. Flamenco, I worked with an artist a long time ago who once said flamenco is the true world music. And that's because so many different cultures and artistic practices had to come together to make flamenco what it is today. You know, it has African rhythms, it has Middle Eastern ways of singing, it has folkloric background or folkloric contributions from different parts of southern Spain. So it really is something that a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds with a lot of different artistic practices had to come together over many, many years.
Yes.
And it created something new. And that's really that's the history of humanity, quite honestly.
Super
we should have
excited.
recorded all that, like-
oh, we got it on record. We got it on record. We got it already. We got it in the
Play all
archives
that
already. But
And in all of this aside, I didn't actually answer your question. How did I start the nonprofit?
but I do want to talk. But I do want to talk about the points that you actually said
Yes.
because you're making very great points.
Amazing
The
points.
one thing about flamenco, and I watch a lot of short films. I watch a lot of independent films, and I love watching like films from España. I love watching because what happens is that sometimes when you actually have the arts of watching a movie, you feel like you're there if you understand music. If it's your first time watching it, it's almost as if you're taking yourself outside of your own culture and diving in to see exactly how they do it in their culture. The thing about music and flamenco is such a classy like tango, right? And what happens is with tango, it's like that sensual type deal, but you look at flamenco and you like, wow, she's about to kill it because she's expressing herself.
But it's so disciplined.
And it's so disciplined.
I love
It is.
watching it.
And I think, and I don't consider, do you consider, this is a question, do you consider flamenco a ballroom dance?
No, not at all.
So
not
I'm
at
so
all.
glad she said that,
Not-
right?
not
Right?
even
Not at all,
close.
not even
No.
close, right?
No.
And it's funny. I was just having a conversation with one of my friends in regards to what's the difference between street versus ballroom, right? And I'm like, yo, I teach street, right? But at the same time too, I know exactly where the culture takes it to the streets as well too, because flamenco is like all in the streets. When I see it, right, when I see certain videos, right, and people dancing and expressing themselves in certain little hidden clubs or certain little spots that you like appreciate down to earth dancing, right? And I really want to touch on that point because flamenco is kind of that unique, but it brings that culture out of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and in you as well too.
So you want me to comment about the culture of flamenco?
Let's do it. Let's do
Okay.
it. Let's do it.
Yeah, so flamenco is just for anybody who's not familiar with it. You go on YouTube and find tons and tons of videos. But flamenco is it's a music, both a music and a dance. So I usually refer to it as an art form, and it is based on 3 pillars. It's from southern Spain, so everybody just associates that all of Spain with flamenco. It's from the south of Spain. It's that it was that melting pot in the south of Spain that created flamenco, and it is based on 3 pillars. So you have the guitar, the vocals,
yes,
and then you have the percussion element, which is given by the dancer. So the percussive element is in the feet. When people think about flamenco, they think about a dancer and they think about those feet, just hammering the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have the aspect of the castanets. Although in traditional flamenco, the castanets don't come in. That's actually something that came in a little bit later.
They added that
It
later?
was So castanets were very big in classical Spanish dance, and classical Spanish dance has had a big impact on the kind of flamenco that we see today. And so the castanets were a classical instrument in Spain. So again, this is just to drive home that art is something in constant evolution. Culture is something that's in constant evolution, and artists are always pulling in references from different artists and from different art forms. And so flamenco, again, it started just as that guitar and that percussive footwork and from the dancer and singing.
Yes.
But it's grown into something much, much bigger and much richer. And even now you're seeing new artists bringing really contemporary vibes into flamenco. So it's this art form in constant evolution. And it's not a very old art form when you talk about it in comparison with other arts. Yeah. Flamenco really, what we started to recognize as flamenco didn't start happening until the early 1900s. Late 1800s are kind of considered the proto-flamenco period, so what was leading up to what would become flamenco. And flamenco very much does have this folkloric background, right? So it was something that's born out of these folkloric traditions from southern Spain. But what we have now in flamenco is a very professionalized, formalized, taught in conservatories dance, and it's very difficult when you think of everything is very difficult. Singing it, playing it on the guitar,
yes,
dancing it. It's what we call a very codified art form. There are a lot of codes in it that you have to know. The rhythms, like I said, are from North Africa.
Yeah.
And they're not like Western rhythms. Western music is based on a 4-count. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we repeat that over and over and over again. But African, Asian music have much, much, much more complex rhythms. And so in flamenco, you have to have those really complex rhythms, like ground into your body to dance and play that kind of music. And there is still that folkloric aspect, which is what you were talking about. So you have these. You have conservatory trained dancers, but you also have people, and this is predominantly in the gypsy community in Spain, who associate it with their culture, are very proud of it, and will have their parties where somebody will pull out a guitar and strum a little bit, and other people will get up and do what we call una patadita. And it's not the same thing as watching a professional, but there is that joy and that enjoyment and that pride in being able to do that, and just really it's a celebration. It's a lot of fun, and they're just very different experiences seeing, the professionals in the theater and then the people that just live it as part of their life and their culture. Yeah. So it's really broad, and I the one thing I don't like about sort of the concept of flamenco in the rest of the world is that it's this very cliche notion of what it is, and it's just, it's something passionate and fiery that gypsies in Spain do, and it's just so much more than that, right? Oh
my God, yeah, it is. Oh my God, yeah, it is. But I commend you on that. That is awesome. So we got to go to the comments because there's people watching you, Justine. There's people watching you. So I do want to say big shout out to What's Up Papa, Edwin Rosario. He said, "What's up, brother?" I said, "What's going on, Papa?"
Hi, Edwin.
Violetta checking in. What's up, Violetta from Wisconsin?
Violetta.
Hello, Violetta. We got Renee Hubbard. Hi from Texas. Hello.
Hello, Texas.
Yeah,
we love
Texas
you.
is representing. We'll be out there shortly. We got Primo Cruz checking in. He said,
Hey,
a
Primo.
flamenco activist. I like that. I like that too. That's a cool one too.
Right?
And then we got Rhonda. Stramel is checking in. Hello. Thank you so much. And you got Gino. What's up, Papa? ¿Cómo está?
Gino.
Saludo. And then Isela. She says, I love flamenco.
Good.
We
do
also
too.
have
We do too.
we also have Pablo who says, "So great to hear your vision, Justine."
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
That's very nice. Thank you.
Yes, and other people that's tuning in, Daisy24 is checking in. What's up, Daisy?
Hey, Daisy.
How's it going? John T for free is checking in.
John T
we
for
got
free.
Faye Van San is checking in as
Hey,
well
Faye.
too. What's up? And then we have, who else we have here? We have the Mazda 778. Interesting. Yes, I love it. Thank you guys so much for checking in. Don't
Love
forget.
to keep you interested.
That's right. Keep it going. Make sure you continue to share this video. Let everybody know that we are live with Justine and we're having a great time doing so. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you did say about, cliche, in regards to what people think. And that's how it is. Even with salsa, even with merengue, they sometimes they call it, oh, that's Mexican music. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, you can't say it just like that. Because you eat tacos and you get burritos and you think everything is Mexican. I'm like, no, you can't. That's a cliche of kind of a disrespect, right?
Well,
But that's-
flamenco, they just think about a red rose and,
And frilly
a
dresses.
frilly
And
dress.
dresses.
Yeah.
right?
So.
And it's like, you can't do that, right?
Right.
I mean, you
No.
can't do that. You have to really dig into the culture. Once you understand the culture, then it goes from there.
the storytelling.
He passed away, of course, a long time ago, and he's from España, and he was a singer. Start off with a C.
Camarón.
Camarón
de la isla.
There was a movie
Yeah.
dedicated for him, and not a documentary, but it was this movie in regards to how he was, and I love his music. I love his voice. I love the way that they trickle their voice when they actually feel like they're crying, but they're actually singing and they're
You can
expressing
hear
themselves.
Yeah.
Middle Eastern influence.
Oh,
in
it's-
that music.
and
it's beautiful.
Camarón.
if you
Yes.
if you go to any Middle Eastern country, you'll hear the call to prayer. So forgive me, Muslims, if I get this wrong. I think it's 5 times a day that you're supposed to pray. And so when from the mosques, they have these towers where they project the call to prayer, right? And so it's not unlike Jewish culture as well, where when you go to synagogue, you have a cantor, and all of that originated in the Middle East. I mean, that's where Christianity, Islam, Judaism all started in the same place.
Yeah.
And so a lot of those core traditions come from the same place, right? And we see this very much in flamenco, that kind of ululation, that kind of way of singing that's typical
Spiritual
that's typical,
connection,
right?
yeah.
That's typical in the Islamic world, and I'm often amazed. I've been in Turkey, and when you get somebody that really sings the call to prayer beautifully, I mean, it's just, I hear it. I hear the flamenco in it. I hear, or maybe it's the other way around. I hear that in the flamenco, and so it's beautiful to see how interconnected we are, and I wish that people would look for that.
Hooked you into all this, just hearing that combination of that music and seeing the dance and just.
So my mom is from Spain,
Okay.
and my mother's actually from northern Spain. So I said, as I explained, flamenco's from southern Spain, and my mother's from an area where the traditional music is called jota, which is also super beautiful. It's not as widespread as flamenco, but it's beautiful music as well, and there are certain similarities as well. But she always loved flamenco, and I grew up here, but she had her old records, and she had her cassettes, and I think I always heard it when I was little when she would put it on, and it never really fully registered with me that it was something different. But I think it was around the age of 18 that I started going through my mom's old records and stuff, and I started listening to it, and I just felt a very deep connection, both culturally, I think, finding that piece of half of your family. But also I just thought it was beautiful. I thought it was a beautiful way of singing. I grew up singing, and I cannot sing flamenco. I would never dare try because it's a very, very different way of singing, and I would murder it, and I have more respect for it than to do that. So, but I will sing at home and I will sing along, and I love it. I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. And it was really the singing that drew me in from the very beginning, which is often, for people not familiar with the art form, the hardest part to digest. And then after I did my junior year abroad in Madrid, and I started going to flamenco shows there. And then afterwards I moved back to Spain, and I lived in Spain for 10 years and worked in Spain for 10 years. And, was being a journalist there, and
wow, okay.
And I saw this sorry to anybody who's ever written about flamenco in the US, but when I was reading stuff that was written in the US about flamenco, I saw this very deep misunderstanding or no understanding of what this art form actually meant and was trying to say, and so I started reaching out to international magazines and saying, hey, I'm in Spain, I'm connecting with some of the most important flamenco artists right now, and I want to cover it for you. And I started writing about flamenco for a lot of different international publications, and really trying to break this, something that I would always hear, and I've said this already, is in these reviews they wouldn't know what to write because they didn't understand the art form, and they'd write it's the fiery and passionate, and then they'd dedicate a whole paragraph to explaining what the dancer's dress looked like, and I'm like, you can, when you read these things, you understand this is somebody that doesn't understand the art form. And when you're writing about an art form you don't understand, you're not doing it justice.
That's right.
And I was lucky. I really pushed for it, and you do have to push. I wrote for a lot of specialized art magazines, and they want to hear about ballet and contemporary dance and classical music, and I'm over here, rooting in the corner to no, just give us one article every few months about this art form. And but yeah, that's I found a niche for myself.
There you go.
I commend your determination, because
Thank
I can
you.
imagine you probably were turned away quite a bit.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So-
and I've talked to editors who unfortunately will say things like, yeah, there's really not an interest in that, and I see the same thing in the performing arts, like, oh, we don't have an audience for that, and you never will if nobody is exposed to these things.
Come on.
Exactly.
Come
Love
on.
that.
Yes.
It's
just so easy to get that. It's how can I say it? It's hard to get that exposure when you have people that don't understand
Or refuse to understand.
Just refuse to understand. Exactly.
Right.
I mean, and I guess that's where I was going in more, polite forms, because sometimes people would just close the door in front of your face and
Right.
not even want to listen to what it's all about.
Happens
Because
every
they're
day.
stuck in their ways. That makes it harder for yourself or anyone that's trying to get across that edge and say, hey, all you got to do is look at it one time. That's all I ask you to do. Take a look at it one time, and it might change your mind. It might change your perspective. And it'd be better if there was a group of them actually watching it at the same time, because that way you'll get different perspectives. And then the person that's actually saying, no, I don't want it, might change your mind.
Yep.
Right? And I think because of the art form of flamenco brings a culture, just like salsa, just like Latin music in general, reggaeton, just like R&B or anything like that, where people are not aware of how the music can actually make you feel, right? And it's the culture behind it. And, besides the food, I wanted to ask you about that. So when you lived in Spain, Madrid?
I lived in Madrid. Yep.
Okay, so how was the food like? What's the food like in Madrid?
The food is amazing. In Spain, anywhere in Spain, and we have.
What's your favorite?
Oh my gosh.
If you had to pick one, what would
So
you?
I think this is going to gross people out, but one of the things when I go back to Spain that I really love to get is morcilla, and morcilla is what we call blood sausage.
sausage.
Oh, blood sausage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
and depending on the different regions make it differently, but I like what's called morcilla de Burgos. Burgos is a city in Spain,
Okay.
which is made with blood, spices, and rice. And I like to, when I have people who are not from Spain with me in Spain, of course they see these slices of black stuff and they're like, oh, what is that? And I don't want to
It
tell
is
them.
a
I'm like,
delicacy,
yeah,
though.
give
It
it
really
a
is.
shot. It sounds grosser than it actually is. It's actually really, really delicious. And not just morcilla, but I love the jamon.
Oh,
I love
man, of course,
the ham.
Ooh.
The jamon is
As a jamon, woo.
you cannot find. They will import some jamones here, but it's just not the same as in Spain.
It's totally different. Yeah.
not.
And that's another thing too, as far as the culture of food, right? That goes along with music, right? Is that you gotta have them both, right? You gotta have them both, because once you leave like a theater or something like that you're actually appreciating the art. Next thing you know, it's like, man, you know what? I got a taste for.
Right.
Boom.
Well, if you're experiencing
blood sausage,
if you're experiencing a culture, those are kind of like the hot buttons, right? If you're experiencing a culture, you want to dive into their arts and entertainment,
absolutely,
their food and hospitality, like and museums and just the whole experience of it.
I think like the two biggest pieces of just what impact us most about culture are the things that we experience daily in a culture, which is obviously its cuisine, but also its language.
Yes.
So, and we can talk about this in Spanish, right? I have a dad from Chile and I have a mom from Spain, and all of Latin America is not the same thing as you were mentioning.
Thank you.
Not everyone eats tacos. That's one country, guys.
Thank you.
And so, but one of the things that really differentiates us, even though we have a shared history and we do have pieces of culture that knit together because of that shared history, what really differentiates us is our accents differentiate us, certain words that we use differentiate us, and
they
our
also
foods.
blend us, because you'll hear words,
absolutely,
in Arabic that are also in Spanish.
Man.
So you start to learn where these influences came along the way, where you didn't think like that, or even just in books, in religion. You start to read, the Bible, and then you look at the Quran. You notice that these are kind of like the same stories. So you start to learn. You learn so much through culture, which is why it's so hard to digest that this country sees it as, oh, that's novelty, that's something extra, versus this is what we need to do to keep our balance in within society.
And there's always two sides of the coin, right? There's the heads and there's the tail, right? It's either you're gonna lead or you're gonna follow, right? It's either you want to know more about it or you don't want to know more about it, right? And it's a choice, right? It's a choice, but when it's a choice and that choice get turned around,
right?
It
is.
The
It
irony,
isn't.
Like that.
The true irony of it is this country was founded on different cultures, different.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Come on.
But again, whole nother conversation.
Yes.
Right.
We can dive into that all day.
I could say it comes a point where it is a choice. You have a choice to try to step out of your comfort zone and try to see something new.
Yes.
You may not like it, but at least you tried something new. And then you may go out and you may try something new and fall in love with something new, right?
That's
Absolutely.
a beautiful thing.
But at the same time, we have to, that curiosity, that desire to try new things really has to be taught to a person. That has to start when you're little, and through your formative years. We have to teach people to understand early on that there is value even in the things that you're not familiar with.
Right.
And that you should seek them out because they will contribute more to your life. And I fully 100% that anybody who's willing to be open-minded and try new things and visit new places is going to live a much richer life than somebody that just feels sort of comfortable just being in the same sort of situation all the time.
I love that.
Hey, I
definitely echo that comment.
You know what? And you hit it right on the head.
Right.
The reason why is that when you visit what the world has for you, you tend to enrich every culture. You tend to make new friends.
Right.
You also make new friends through music, through food, through conversation, through cars as well too.
Right.
Driving, right, with cars, through parties and everything.
You'd be surprised how much your life can change once they say, you get off your porch, so to speak.
Oh, man.
But some people, there are people that just refuse, that are just happy in their little world.
And it's so sad because I feel bad for them, right? Because I'm like, listen, all you got to do is get that plane, get on that plane and just go. Just watch what they do. Just see what they can actually do. And don't go from there. We're at 12:45 right now, everybody. We're here with my girl Justine, and she's rocking it out. We got to go to the weather report, but if you got something, do you got something
real
to say?
quick, because Isela said, I'm getting hungry. I'm getting hungry, too. All the talk about tacos and the food, the ham. So anybody want to send us some tacos, that you know, it's totally fine.
Yeah, and then Aunt Sa and 123 says, I just had some morcilla in Puerto Rico. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do, you know. Yeah. So, you know, we got, oh yes, Favon Sun says, food and music goes hand in hand. My dad living in Spain, they cook while dancing. That's what we do, right?
Woo!
That's what we do.
All day.
So, okay. All right. So we're not going to actually do the weather report because we're actually, you know, we're loving this conversation. You know what I will tell you is this. I'll give you a quick overview as far as what the weather's going to be like. We got snow. We got snow today, little snow flurries, but here in Chicago, and then we have snow on Monday. But it's going to be in like the 30s. We're going to drop down to 17, right? Yeah, I know. A little bit of 21s, but you know, but we're gonna have some sunshine. You know, we have some real sunshine on Wednesday, though. Some good sunshine on Wednesday. So keep that salt ready for when it's 17. Right, yes. Right. So it's gonna be good. So I'm so happy that you're here, man. I know when I first talked to you over the phone, and we start talking about, you know, international artists and stuff like that will be, you know, happy to come on to the show. Us, you know where we want to go. We want to go to Spain.
You want to go to Spain.
We want to go to Spain. I want to go to Spain. I think we should take the show to Spain.
It's very important that we have a show from Spain.
Right? I think it's very important.
Yes,
right?
the engagement.
I think that's a great idea, and I welcome you guys to come. I am in a very lucky position that I do have a second home in Spain, in Jerez de la Frontera, so shout out to Jerez de la Frontera, which is, it's about an hour south of Seville. It's very close to the Atlantic coast in Spain in the south, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful place. It's where sherry wine is from. So if you sherry is not huge in the U.S., but
I cook with it all the time.
It is a big for cooking.
For cooking, yep. And but like sherry has the dry wines, like the ones you use for cooking, and then they also have the sweet wines. So they're aperitifs or dessert wines. And it's really, really nice because you'll be in some of the old spaces in Jerez, and they just have like this smell of wine impregnated in them, which is really, really nice because they've been for, you know, hundreds, probably thousands of years.
Had us at second home.
I'm trying to sell. Yeah, I'm trying to sell the city, but it's
all that, girl. Yeah. All that. All of it. You hear all that? Oh man.
Yeah, we definitely will. We definitely would love to travel to Spain.
You are very welcome. I'd love to have you guys come.
We would not be mad at all if you called us to come out and do a show.
Exactly. That will be definitely an ultimate trip for the Rico No Suave show.
He said, let's all go to Spain. I'm right there with you. She said, I make good sangria.
Yeah, man. I mean, that would be really, really awesome. Amazing. You know, to be able to do that. So, you know, we have a few minutes, you know, still, but you know, talking about the art of flamenco, but you also talked about in kind of like in your bio where you talk about racism. There's a big piece that we talk about on the show when it comes to racism and diversity. And Brent, can you give us a little bit more insight in regards to, you know, I know this will take an hour.
Exactly.
Well, you guys is a big topic.
I know,
yes.
And it's really big, but you're bringing people together, but you're also making it a point.
Right.
As well, too. So tell us a little bit about that.
So this actually loops back to the first question that I didn't answer. So the reason why I started a nonprofit for equity, diversity, and inclusion in the performing arts is because as a booking agent, I noticed particularly when I would move Latin American artists, that I would get a lot of, you know, they're great, but we don't have a Hispanic audience. So we just can't do it. And, you know, I don't think the people that said these things to me, they're professionals that I know and I've worked with before. And I don't think they were saying it from a wrong place, but I think they don't notice what a loaded response that is. And the response is telling me, A, you don't have a Hispanic audience and you don't care to have one. Mm-hmm. a Hispanic audience or a Black audience or an Asian audience is not valued the same way that a white middle class or above audience is. And then it's also telling me that you think that because this is an ethnic music, that your white audience would not enjoy it.
Exactly. I mean,
and these are two very misguided ways of thinking.
not that that's
right?
the only audience we want to target, but I mean, you're devaluing all your audiences.
Yes. So and I know from pure experience of touring with international bands that anybody can come out and really enjoy different kinds of music that have nothing to do with their own culture.
Yes.
And so, I understand that in the arts world, it's very hard to introduce new music and new bands because it is a risk and it's expensive and you don't want to lose a ton of money.
Sure.
But in addition to those kinds of responses, I was also attending professional conferences where you could look out across a room of about 1,000 people and you would see 2 or 3 Black people, a couple of Hispanics, almost no Asians. And that's terrifying to me because those are the people that are making decisions about what we have access to, right? And then on top of our stages, we do not see as many African American performers, Hispanic performers, women. We don't have women that are presenting their work as much. We don't hear women's stories as much either.
Yeah.
And in our audience, again, like I said, we if we go to any nice theater in Chicago, you are going to see a predominantly white upper middle class audience. You are not going to see a lot of diversity. So this is a very, very big problem. The only people that have access to the arts and cultural events should not just be, white folks with a little more money.
Right.
This should be, this is invaluable to everyone,
Yes.
Regardless of your class, your race, your gender, your ethnicity. We need to start hearing more stories about LGBTQ folks as well.
Yeah.
We can't, we still have trans women are being murdered at a ridiculous rate, and we're never going to move past this thing until we don't start hearing their stories and understanding where they're coming from.
That's right.
And this is where equity and diversity and inclusion are based on a very fundamental principle, which is visibility.
Right.
We need to be able to see people different from ourselves. We need to be able to hear their stories, to understand and empathize with them. So it is extremely important that we get more diverse artists onto our stages, programming our stages, in our audiences. So that's where this nonprofit started. And as the nonprofit has grown, I've really started researching and working on projects that also see how arts equity can influence social justice as well, right?
Yes.
How the arts can be used to make our society more just and provide opportunities for people who have not had the kinds of opportunities that, that being born into a lower social class, lower, I say this in quotes, without the economic possibilities or being systemically discriminated against, the arts can offer a real doorway for a lot of those people to find themselves, to find confidence, to just become part of the society and more visible for their own health and for ours, for everybody's, right? So... it's
okay to say
a journey.
It's okay for people to say they don't understand. And I think that opens up a good conversation. And I love that you're behind trying to get a platform for people. Okay, you don't understand me or my choices or why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. Let me help you understand.
Yeah.
Let me explain that to you. Or at the same token, even if you don't understand, you can empathize with me.
You
may never grasp a full understing.
That's true, but you can empathize.
You have to empathize. You can empathize.
Yes.
I love that. Thank you so much for that.
Of course. This is something I put a lot of thought and energy into, and it's, we really need to stop thinking about this as just, we just want to include people a little bit more. No, this is critical to our society. And you guys touched on the masks and all of this. I really feel like, and I don't want to be alarmist, but I do feel like we're losing a little bit of that understanding of what it is to live in society.
Right.
That you don't, if you're going to live in a society, there are certain rules you have to follow, and those rules are so that the society as a whole can thrive. And so when we talk about getting a vaccine and wearing a mask, including people who have up to now been systemically kept apart from being able to thrive in society, these are things that ultimately, if we do them for one another, we are going to be stronger as a collective.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the whole point. That's the whole point.
Moving
Society.
as a
moving
society.
Forward,
Yeah.
moving forward. Not being controlled in a way where people don't like really being controlled because they tend to fight back. That's why we have riots. That's why we have chaos. But
to mask or not to mask, a lot of us,
That is the
I get
question.
it, right, to mask or not to mask. But I mean, I get not wanting to be told what to do. But is it going to physically harm you to
exactly
kind of roll with it?
It's
you know what I mean?
It's a small price. It's a small price to pay for hopefully keeping other people around you a little bit safer.
For a long-term betterment.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, but it's other things that we have to be careful about, not just COVID-19. And we also have to be careful about the flu, which we still don't know that's if it exists anymore because everything is on COVID-19, right? We also have to be careful about other diseases that people may have that could be contagious that we don't know about, and we're wearing a mask because of COVID-19. I think the problem behind it is that COVID-19 has taken so much of our lives with that society piece where we can't even move forward because we don't know what other things may hit us. Right? And I think that's the problem. I say there's nothing wrong with being masked, but I'm like, man, I mean, if that's the only thing we're being masked up for, we got other things that we need to be worried about, right?
Well, the thing is it's consuming all the climate
Man.
until we can get it manageable. Then we can focus on those other. That's exactly that issue.
And that's where
if we can't all move as a society, then we can't focus on the other things that are important too. Because now, because people refuse to do their part, we have to keep this focus all on this situation,
right?
Because we have people who don't want to cooperate or don't have the understanding or don't feel comfortable yet to do the things that they're being asked to do.
Mentality awareness, right? It goes back to that, right? Because now there's that control in regards to what shall I think when I go to the grocery store? Who shall I be walking past? I got a mask on. How many feet shall I stay away from that guy or girl, right? It's all my things of fear. Fear causes anxiety and we can go forever for that. But I'm sorry, I was in a zone when you were talking, and you talked about, how, music brings us together, how people need to express themselves no matter what culture that you're in. And it's so hard because racism exists. Like it exists even when Trump was in the office. And it existed before Trump was in the office, but it came out more when Trump got into the office because it was more of bringing yourselves out to be free to whatever you want to be able to say. And then we really know that racism really, really exists between minorities and the majorities. Oh, the point that I did want to talk about is, we say money is the root of all evil, right? That you hear that a lot, where people want to pay, and to be able to see whatever performance I want to see. Right. Well, okay, that's cool. That's good. But we got money too. You know what I mean? We got money that we want to actually pay for to be able to go into that venue to take a look at performing arts and what you have.
Dignify your dollar. Only put your money towards those narratives you want to support.
That's that discrimination. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem because they don't look at it, money is green when it's in your hand, right? But it depends on who's giving that money that you want to accept it from. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem, right? Because the richness of the music and the performing arts of what people express themselves, no matter what culture you're from, makes a big difference in regards to when you leave that theater, what do you feel? I know every time I go to different types of arts and see it, I have a different feeling every single time. I indulge myself into that culture. But I really love that you actually said, and I'm really loving the movement.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes. And you made a beautiful point about money. Money talks. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the truth of it. And we talked about this before, but what you put your money to really does make a difference.
Yes, it
does. And if you want to see more diversity on stages, start going out and supporting, those artists of color,
Yep.
and just buy a ticket.
Yep.
It's that simple. Buy a ticket.
And
Let
don't be
people
trying
know
to get
that
it
you
for
want
free.
to see this.
Either don't be trying to get no
trying to get
discounts.
things
Ain't
for
no
free all
discounts.
the time. Support it. And it's that is another big change that we're seeing a lot in society is people are dignifying their dollar, be it where they spend it, but also where they're receiving it.
Yes.
Who are you working for?
Yep.
Right.
What are they supporting? What's their deal? Where is their money supporting? So I like there's subtle changes, but it matters,
Yeah, but when it's, thousands to millions of us making those changes, it's a
Big
big
impact.
deal.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Yes. I have something for you.
Oh, good.
But I do want to ask you one more question. So you're a producer.
Yes. Yeah.
What are you producing? Right?
What am I producing right now? Not much.
Yeah,
Not
sure.
much.
Or what have you produced?
What have I
should say?
produced? So mainly flamenco productions.
Okay.
Where I will find artists that I think are really amazing, and I will work with them to get a full production made and toured. It's not. The production world is either you work with the artist and you do all the logistics to make a show happen, or you put the money in. I do the logistical part of getting people together, finding what it is we want to tell with a show, helping that show grow, helping find funds to get that show out on the road or to do what we need to do with it, and then getting it out there. So I've worked on several different flamenco shows, and I work with, I guess, one of the ongoing projects. We're not doing anything right now, but I work with a trio format called Corazón de Granada with artists from Granada, Spain, which was just an idea that was born in my kitchen. There's a wonderful young guitarist in Spain who plays both classical Spanish guitar as well as flamenco guitar. His name is Pablo Jimenez. I hope he's out there listening.
Saludo, papá. Salud. Pablo.
And Pablo was doing just an independent tour, just playing small venues, just playing guitar.
Yes, he chimed in.
Oh, did he? And he was, he stayed with me during a week in Chicago where he played a lot of small venues across Chicago, and super dedicated to his instrument, of course. And I remember he would be in my kitchen every time I'd wake up, and he'd just be practicing. And we, over long conversations in the kitchen, we started thinking about what is something that we could tour easily, that we can get like the roots of flamenco, but also sort of the classical aspects that have influenced flamenco. Yeah. And Corazón de Granada was born in my kitchen right here in Chicago.
That's
right.
And
it has been, they've toured the U.S. Twice already. We're working on a third tour right now, and we're working on a second show. So,
do you perform locally at the local venues here in Chicago?
When we can. So this goes back to when we can get somebody who wants to present them and put the money towards paying the artists. Yeah, we do shows in Chicago.
You know
so you're finding those challenges here, like in your backyard.
Oh God! Oh yes, of course.
Wow.
So
yeah.
we have a breakthrough of places where you guys can perform at, and the Rico No Suave Show will help wherever we need to. We have connections to be able to help.
We definitely have contacts that
we
we can
have
put you in
help.
touch with.
Please help.
I mean,
I'm
that's
just
not a
surprised
problem.
that you've been closed down like here. I mean,
I understand the industry. I'm not blaming this on anybody. This is a very, very tough industry. There are so many artists. The competition is huge. I understand that venues, just a lot of people don't realize when they don't work in the performing arts, but simply opening a theater for a night is like thousands of dollars of cost. So there's not, there people that run these theaters and program artists don't want to take risks. They want to program the kind of stuff that they're like, oh, okay, I can sell at least 75% of my seats for the show and I won't lose money.
well, the thing is, we have a lot of theater goers here that actually have memberships that keep these things going, that love to actually, this is why they have a membership, because they want to see these different cultural,
like the
have
plays and
experiences.
stuff. And even when I was working downtown, and Rico and I both have a hospitality background. When I was downtown as a concierge, I had an array of customers. We just want to go see the theater today. What's playing?
Right.
So it's not like they would always specifically come for something. They'll go and watch whatever's playing that day and just love the theater and be surprised pleasantly surprised with what they have.
I need to be
so it
introduced
just
to your
surprises me to hear
network.
you say that nobody, you know what I mean, that
Yeah.
they would shut it down without even trying it first.
Right. So, you know, I love you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm just
that's
letting
you
you know.
guys
Love
are
you.
great.
We love you.
You're amazing.
There's a lot of love in the room right
Yeah,
now.
it's always love here on the
the
Rico No
tech,
Suave
and
Show.
we got to call out the tech
The
crew.
tech
They've been
crew,
great as
yes,
well.
yeah, the good production
Production.
assistants. Yeah. And, you know, I think, from our whole staff, we love that you're actually here and your journey. We definitely got to have you back, but if we do get back with you, we're going to Spain.
I'm happy to have you guys come out. We'll bring,
Let's go!
We'll bring
Right.
Pablo out.
So we're like,
Pablo, you don't
Pablo.
hey,
Justine,
Pablo,
we hope to
gonna-
see you again in Spain.
It's a lot warmer there right now.
So I have a shirt for you.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we have a shirt for you. You know,
Yes.
from Chicago to Spain and from Spain back to Chicago. You know, I think this shirt means a lot from us to give to you in regards to everything that you have done, even through the pandemic, but also for you actually having that movement. That movement makes a big difference in regards to you being able to get the performing arts internationally, but also throughout the U.S. as well, too, and also fighting for your right for flamenco and also for racism, against discrimination, but also saying, hey, yeah, you might have the money, but we got the money too. And we know that a lot of people will enjoy this culture.
That is
so
right.
I want to say thank you so much for also being the founder, but also being a producer, as well as in the arts industry overall for all of us. So
Oh, thank you.
congratulations
Yes.
to
Love
Rico No
it.
Suave
Congratulations, Justine.
Yes,
you.
yes,
And thank
yes.
you for everything that you do.
Thank you
Yes,
so much.
yes.
And thank you for allowing me to come out here and talk about it.
Yeah, all day. Hey, so speaking of talk about it, I got a question for you. Do you like, two questions. Do you like Skippy peanut butter?
The peanut butter? Yes, I do.
Hey! That's awesome. Last question is, I know we kind of talked about it through arts, but what can Justine do to make the world better?
Oh my God. I mean, I'm sure there are lots and lots of things that I can do that I still haven't done to make the world better.
I think you're already doing a lot of things to make the world better.
I'm certainly trying.
I definitely think you are.
And I think the important thing is that you have to have a passion for something, and you go after that passion, and you fight and
Yes.
you fight. And what can I do to make the world better? I'm going to say, when I have to re-roof my house, put solar panels on there. That's what I'm going to say.
Be energy efficient, okay?
That's right.
That's right. Every little bit helps.
I love it. And you know, I got somebody that actually came on the show, and she actually does solar panels for the houses, so I can connect you with her.
me,
I'll
please,
connect
yeah.
you with her.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah,
being on the
thank
show
you.
with
Thank
us
you for
today.
having me.
Oh my God.
Thank you, love.
Everybody put your hands together
You're
for none other than
amazing.
Thank you.
Justine Bayod Espoz.
Thank you, guys.
And so. All right, everybody. So, what a great interview today, everyone. I had such a great time, and with my co-host Valerie Malesio,
Hey.
we had a beautiful time talking about the arts and what things to be able to move you. Next week, everyone, next week we have the NFL alumni. NFL will be on the show with us next week, everybody. The alumni. We got none other. Angel Lopez is coming back as far as to the show for the liaison for the Latin community. We got my man Charlie Brown. We got Simon Chandler. We got Ken Harris. And we have my man, Michael Blair, going to be here in the loft with us next week. We're going to have a great time. We might go over a little bit because it's going to be wild. It's going to be wild next week. So get ready, everybody, because we're going to have a great talk show. It's going to have a lot of great fun. But I want to thank you guys so much for showing some love. We also, you know what, go back. We got to put her social media. We got to put her social media up. Because you guys need to know exactly where she's at, and then you also have have an event. We got to talk about the event before we get out of here. I'm sorry.
No, no problem.
Yeah, we can clap again for you as well too.
That's right.
So tell us about. So we have. Let's put up the social media for her real quick. All right. So we have the Instagram. So at Torito Media. So make sure you go and follow her on Instagram. Let's go to that next one. What's the next one? We have Torito Media as far as on Facebook también. So, all right. So make sure you go there on Facebook. Twitter. All right, Torito Media, right? So we
There you
have
go.
that as well too.
Very consistent.
Right.
And
So you won't be confused.
Right.
Look for Torito Media.
and on Twitter, you know, I have to say there's stuff about art stuff, but there's also stuff about our society. I let loose on Twitter. So if you guys like to hear somebody who from, you know, a hot take from somebody working in the arts and also you know, Hispanic and also quite liberal.
Did you guys hear what I hear? I hear all the juicy stuffs on Twitter. So go to Twitter.
Juicy. Right.
Juicy.
All right, what else we have for? LinkedIn. Yes, Justine Bayod Espoz. That's LinkedIn, everybody. So make sure you please go ahead and follow her on LinkedIn. All right, let's talk about the website for the event. So you have an event coming up, right?
Yes. So this is actually that was born out of the pandemic. I work with a really great production company, live streaming production company called Third Row, and their website is thirdrow.live. They're based out of Massachusetts. These are actually really amazing folks out there because they also do live production. They presented artists that I work with. That's how we have a relationship.
Okay.
And so they're doing a lot of world music there and bringing a lot of foreign artists to Western Massachusetts. And if they can do it in Western Massachusetts, we should be doing more of it in Chicago.
There you go. Yes.
So last year, I have a really good working relationship with the Jerez Festival. It's Festival de Jerez in Spanish.
Sí.
So Jerez is the city that I was talking about. And they have one of the longest running, largest yearly flamenco festivals in the world.
Wow.
And so we live streamed 5 shows from the Jerez Festival last year. And I got a very nice email from the director who said we'd like to have you guys back this year. So we are doing 5 shows this year. This starts in February. So I'll be in Spain shortly. And so that is, you asked me about production. So I am producing these streams from the Jerez Festival. It's not live performance that I'm producing at this point, but I have a great team in Spain who's helping us to film these shows and put them on the internet for anybody who wants to buy a ticket. Check out Flamenco. And I think the really beautiful thing about seeing these shows is that they're all very different artists who have a very different take on the art form. So if you want to buy a festival pass and invest time and money in seeing 5 different shows, you're going to get 5 very different shows from 5 very different artists, and you'll get to really see that beautiful diversity that exists within flamenco itself.
Let's go. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So thank you so much. And everybody, I hope you please make sure you go and follow Justine, right? She's doing some really great stuff, especially if you like all of that nitty gritty stuff on Twitter, right? So make sure you go and check her out there as well, too. And don't forget, everybody, we will be back next week, same time, same channel, baby, and same social media, live, everywhere. So I'll see you guys next week with my co-host Valerie Malesio as we end out the show. We'll see you later. Jazz, live.